Welcome to the Riiche Collective. I'm Roseanne, also known as Ms. Riiche Life, and I am here to talk strange occurrences from around the world and other stories. So, everywhere around the world, there are the weirdest things that go on, and due to the internet, we have the ability to find out what they are. And some of them make you laugh, some of them make you cry, and some are just so outrageous it's like a train wreck. You just can't look away. So there's a bunch of crazy things that have happened this week. I'm in New York, so we had the earthquake, the 4.8 magnitude earthquake in New Jersey on April 5th. And then throughout April 5th through yesterday, I would say the 10th, we felt some aftershocks in up in the mountains. We didn't feel the earthquake where I was in the mountains, but we felt it a few days later. Everything rumbled, the whole house shook. On top of that, we had a full solar eclipse in a new moon, which is the first lunar phase. So that brought on a lot of really insane everything. People were traveling. Um, Everything was just very odd. I felt very off kilter, very tilted. Um, the 9-degree drop in temperature and just watching the sun disappear was beautiful, but also surreal. So I got a little bit of footage on my camera phone through the solar eclipse lens, which was pretty cool. So here's some strange news from Mexico during the eclipse. Apparently, according to the New York Post, Mexican TV outlet accidentally airs man's testicles during solar eclipse coverage. I mean, how is that even possible? How is this even possible? And their first line, who wrote this article, says the eclipse was nuts. And this is by Ronnie Reyes. This was published on April 9th, 2024, and it says a Mexican news outlet is garnering ridicule online because it accidentally aired a man's testicles when presenting viewer-submitted footage, oh, that's how it happened, of Monday's solar eclipse. I don't even want to go on from there, but if you want to, you can read the rest of that in the New York Post, which is going to be a great source of strange occurrences because they have the best stories about all of this stuff. But the eclipse sadly brought on some tragic news. According to People magazine, People Online, an astrology influencer disturbed by the eclipse unalived herself, her partner, her infant. Oh my goodness. So, a 34-year-old woman who worked as an astrology influencer unalived her partner, 8-month-old baby, and herself after posting warnings about the spiritual warfare of the total solar eclipse. That's what the police say. Oh, this is so terrible. So, apparently, she had, wow, I don't even want to read this. So this woman, her name was Danielle Johnson. She had called the impending eclipse the epitome of spiritual warfare in messages posted on X, formerly Twitter, and she just committed some heinous acts in her SUV. You can read about that on people.com. And to end the solar eclipse on a high note, the next solar eclipse in the United States is in 2044, but it will not be visible in New York State. Now, in 2052, 2066, 2078, and if you're lucky enough, in 2079, there will be other eclipses, full solar eclipses in New York State. 2079, I will be well over 100, 103. Interesting. So let's see if I'm here to podcast about that solar eclipse. And that source came from LowHUD, which is a great magazine for all things going on in the lower Hudson Valley in New York State. Now, also according to people.com, Lunchables has lead, high levels of lead and sodium, and the USDA is urging the National School Lunch Program to remove Lunchables due to this factor. Now, I don't remember having this in school lunch, but there will be a Gen X segment at the end where we could talk about anything Gen X. And I'm going to bring that up because I just found out the breaking news of the day that O.J. Simpson has passed at the age of 76, and he was battling cancer, which is something he did not disclose to the public. Probably smart, because, yeah, that would have been a rough, rough last few years or months for him with the online dragging of things. But again, getting to the Gen X of it, I was in high school when that trial took place. And we were all absolutely shocked at the outcome. But he had the dream team, and part of that was Robert Kardashian, who you know as the now deceased father of the very, very famous Kardashians, Kim, Kourtney, and Khloe. I had to look it up. Khloe Kardashian. I bet the Kardashians never had Lunchables at school. So now OJ has passed, and this is big news because it's just nobody knew. Nobody knew, and now he has taken some secrets, I think, with him to the grave. Like, remember when he was going to publish that book called If I Did It after he was acquitted of the unalivings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman? I mean, like I said, we were all really shocked. I remember, like, everything was just silent in the room, watching and waiting for this verdict, and they came back with not guilty. Now, before I go back to the 90s with this, let me just stop back in 2007 when O.J. Simpson was arrested and charged with several felonies, including kidnapping and armed robbery, after leading 5 men into a Las Vegas hotel and casino to steal what he claimed was his own sports memorabilia. He was sentenced, found guilty in 2008, and he was sentenced to up to 33 years in prison, but then, of course, he was let out, and now he has passed away. But this whole OJ chase, okay, so let's go back to the OJ chase of 1994. Picture it. Westchester County, June 17th, 1994. A bunch of teenagers are really excited to go see Depeche Mode at Jones Beach. I think it's called the Nikon Theater at Jones Beach now. And we're driving to pick up a friend, and we pull into the driveway, and he comes out screaming, "You guys gotta come in and see what's going on. OJ's on the run," if you could call it that. But we were glued to the TV set. So O.J. Simpson and his friend Al Cowlings, who had the exact same Ford Bronco as O.J., that white Ford Bronco, they led the police on the slowest car chase in history. Like, we had no idea what was going on. It almost looked more like a police escort than it did a car chase. And it was 60 miles of this car chase. Like, we almost missed the concert going to this. And there we were, just waiting to see what was going to happen. But it was just so many police cars behind his truck, and then I think he pulled into his house. I think they pulled into his driveway. It was so odd. Yeah, it was his driveway after 45 minutes of a slow speed chase. They took him into custody after this very, very strange car chase. That's kind of when you thought, was he going to get any special kind of treatment during this trial? And, everyone needs to be treated with dignity, and they deserve that in their fair trial. But he definitely got a lot of special treatment in that weird chase, I think. So here's the kicker, you guys. Al Cowling's Ford Bronco, this white one that he got to match OJ's, it is on display at the Tennessee Crime Museum. And a Los Angeles tour company explored the idea, allegedly, of offering rides in the vehicle up and down the same freeways. That's a little morbid and a little bit weird. Well, this is all about strange occurrences around the world. And speaking of, Fox News tweeted or X'd out, I don't know how you say that anymore, that the apocalypse will be happening now on April 23rd. That's right, just about 2 weeks from now, according to Fox News, there is a biblical prophecy claiming that the rapture is coming. So we've been through this a few times, just save some water and some canned goods, and see you soon there. Yeah, this is hilarious. In other news, and I love this one personally, experts say messy handwriting is a sign of intelligence. So it's called dysgraphia, and it's a condition associated with poor spelling and handwriting. And I don't know if it's poor spelling as much as it's just poor handwriting and all the letters like meld together like mine do. But this is often noticed in school settings. This is true because I got like a D in penmanship because I was left-handed, and like cursive writing was a challenge. So I had to tilt the paper one way and my hand the other way. And, I just never got that beautiful curve. I can write in cursive, but it's not pretty. So my handwriting now is a mix of block letter and cursive. So this used to be a sign of lack of intelligence. However, messy handwriting can actually be a sign of above average intelligence, reflecting a mind bustling with ideas that outpace the hand's ability to record them neatly. That is true. My hand cannot keep up with my brain. That is pretty cool. And it's said that this rapid thought process can lead to individualistic and fast-paced writing, explaining why the handwriting of some professionals like doctors is notoriously difficult to decipher. And that makes sense. Like I said, when I'm on a roll and my brain is going, my hand has to do its own form of shorthand, basically. And in some local news, there are a lot of great concerts coming up at Bethel Woods, including Willie Nelson's Outlaw Festival with Bob Dylan and Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. They've got Limp Bizkit playing there with Corey Feldman and Deep Purple and so many more that I will list for you. So I'm excited for concert season because that's only about 30 minutes from my house, and it's hard to decide which concerts to go see. There are just so many great ones. I will do an episode on that, but I just wanted you guys to be aware that concert season's coming up and get to see your greats, because in 2024, we've got Aerosmith's Peace Out tour, Def Leppard's on tour, and A Flock of Seagulls for all you Gen Xers out there. And if you're like me, I can sit and probably sing their music all day long. They're three of my favorites. But like all Gen Xers, I have really, really eclectic wide range of music interests, and I could dance to anything, probably like all other Gen Xers. I saw Aerosmith back in the late 90s. I think New Jersey somewhere. It was like the Meadowlands. They had a stadium. I think it's PNC Stadium now, but back then it was the Meadowlands Stadium. And so many more people wanted tickets that they actually opened up the back of the stadium so that we could see the show. I had like the nosebleed seats, but Steven Tyler was awesome because he knew there was a huge audience of fans back there and he kept turning around to sing to us. So that was great. And right around the same time, I had started taking these road trips to New England, and without Google, without even MapQuest, because I don't even think that existed, I just drove around the city of Boston until I found Mama Kin's Club, which has since closed, but I found it and it was closed then. I was really, really sad about that. And then Def Leppard, I saw, I want to say maybe 2015 or 2016 at Bethel Woods. And it was such a great show. I lost my shoes. I haven't seen a flock of seagulls ever, but when I was young and they were touring, it was probably places I could not get to. So that's your Gen X music corner for this show. And here's the last thing I want to talk about, and it's called bad fads. And since we're talking about Gen X and the 80s, let's talk about shoulder pads. How bad was that fad? Shoulder pads were just a way to make you look, I don't even know what. Was it supposed to be like powerful? Was it supposed to be like you had the power suit going on? And if you have these big, broad shoulders, you're going to be something special. I mean, it gave you that very triangular look because the waist were slim a little bit more. But what was even worse was when the waist of the jackets got a little bit wider, and then you had the shoulder pads too. So they started to decrease the size of the shoulder pads, and I remember cutting them out after a while out of every shirt, every sweater, every jacket that there was, because after a certain point, only certain clothes needed the shoulder pads. Like if you had the fancy knitted, sequined sweaters, those 80s sweaters that you saw Beverly Goldberg wear on the Goldbergs, those were amazing. And that is where you needed your shoulder pads. But you didn't really need them in your power suit jacket. You just looked so much like a football player. At least I did. I'm really tiny. I'm 5 feet tall. I did not look good with shoulder pads. I'm taking that as a Gen X bad fad. So go ahead and tell me your bad fads, the bands that you want to see this summer, and I am going to sign off for this episode of the Riiche Collective. Thanks for joining me with strange occurrences from around the world and other stories. See you on the next episode.